Hey guys, what is up? It is SS the Middleman here with GuidesForUsAll, and today we're going to be checking out Equinox in Warframe. So first off, I'd like to let you know that everything I say in this video is my opinion or the conclusions that I have drawn by playing with her, leveling up to 30, and testing a few mod builds with her abilities. It's not the end-all be-all of everything if I say something, it's just my opinion. Anyways, let's get started by talking about her abilities. She actually has a unique passive ability which converts 10% of the health orbs you pick up into energy, or 10% of the energy orbs you pick up into health. This actually does stack with the same effects of equilibrium, so do with that what you will. I don't think it ends up being super useful, but it's a nice little passive ability to have. Now on to her first active ability, Metamorphosis. This will allow you to switch between her day and night forms. When you switch into her night form, you will gain, for 25 seconds, I'm also going to assume that you have these powers at max level, that Equinox is rank 30. When you switch into her night form, you will gain 150 shield bonus and a 250 armor bonus. When you switch into her day form, you will gain a 15% speed bonus and a 1.25x damage multiplier, which is really nice. Now, there is a 2-second buffer period when you switch forms, where you can't cast abilities and you will not have these buffs. But once that is over and you've switched into the form successfully, you'll have these buffs for 25 seconds. These are very nice and can definitely change the tide of battle depending on whether you're getting wailed on and you need that armor and shield bonus, or if you just need a little bit more damage to take down an Eximus kind of enemy, and you can get that damage multiplier. Do note that switching between forms will change the effects of each ability that Equinox uses, therefore making her basically have 7 abilities. So let's move on to the second ones, which are called Rest and Rage. First we'll talk about Rest, which is the night form ability. This will put a target to sleep that is within 50 meters of you and that you're aiming at, and any enemies that come within 2.5 meters around that target will also be put into a deep sleep. Now for 22 seconds, this guy will be in a deep sleep unless you interrupt him by getting him to under 50% health, at which point they will wake up. Now, do note that you cannot do this on capture targets, unfortunately. I did not test it on bosses, but it is safe to assume that it does not work on them as well. Let's talk about the Rage ability, which will make the enemy 50% more vulnerable to damage while also giving them a 20% speed boost. Now, this might sound kinda awesome, and that's because it is. 50% more vulnerable to damage will increase your damage output by a lot on this enemy. Very good to use on Eximus enemies or other enemies that have a very high health pool and high armor rating. Now what else is awesome is this can be combined with her first ability by giving Equinox a 1.25x damage multiplier and then making the enemy more vulnerable to damage, therefore giving you just a fantastic combo play there. Now do note, the cast range and the effect radius are affected by power range, therefore if your power range is boosted, it will affect enemies in an even bigger radius around your target enemy, and it is also affected by power duration buffs, so if you want to make it last for 45 seconds or whatever the maximum duration will be, so be it. Anyways, let's move on to her third abilities, which are called Pacify and Provoke. First we will talk about Pacify, which is the night form ability. This will emit an aura around Equinox for 16 meters around her, which will reduce damage taken by 50%. Now, it will lose energy per second depending on how many enemies are around you. You will lose 0.5 energy per second per enemy with the Pacify ability. Now, this is actually a pretty good ability. It's a little confusing because at the higher, I was trying to test this out on the higher level missions, and it's really hard to notice when you're taking 50% less damage just because of the fact that all of the enemies do so much damage at the higher levels. I think this ability could be useful in certain ways, but Pacify is just really not my thing. And that's just me, like I said, my opinions are not the end-all be-all. Now let's talk about the Dayform ability called Provoke. In an aura around her 16 meters as well, this will increase the power strength of your nearby allies' abilities by 20%. So this is pretty nice. Obviously, it will drain your energy by 3 every time a power is casted by an ally, but the 20% power strength boost can be very useful. I haven't really sat here and thought about many combination plays you can make with this, but I'm sure there's some there by mixing her with maybe Mesa, by giving Mesa a 20% power strength boost. Not that Mesa really needs any more power strength, let's be honest, but I guess it could be a nice play. A play you can do by yourself with Equinox is activate Provoke to give yourself the 20% power boost, and then cast her fourth ability, which we haven't talked about yet. But basically that does damage to enemies, and you'll be giving yourself 20% more power strength. And yeah, this is actually affected by power range as well, just so you know. So cast the power range, and then it'll be an even bigger aura, but you kind of got to work together with your teammates for this one to even make sense. Anyways, let's move on to the last abilities, one of which is my favorite. They're called Mend and Maim. First we will talk about Mend, which is the Night Form ability. Basically, when you kill an enemy, it will add health to a collective pool for like an 18 aura around you, a collective pool, and when you activate the ability again, it will go and spread the health evenly between you and your allies that are within a certain amount of range of you. Now when this ability is activated, you will lose, I believe, 5 energy per second, and it will deactivate if you run out of energy, and it will not cast the aura around you if you run out of energy. So make sure to press that button again before you run out of energy, so that all that stuff you've collected does not just go to waste. Now the second version of this ability, which is the Dayform ability called Maim, is my favorite ability on Equinox. This ability is insane. Now, this puts an 18-meter aura around Equinox, and it will do 150 damage to nearby enemies. It will also stun them right when it hits it, and it will do damage per second on them. Now that initial stun is like a 2-second stun right when that enemy is first hit by your aura, and it will take a decent amount of damage. Then every single second it will be slapped on with 150 damage, and when an enemy is killed, it will add to a pool of collected damage, right? And then when you press 4 to end the ability, it will shoot a huge burst around you in an 18-meter aura, hitting enemies and dealing that collective pool of damage. This ability is freaking awesome. It is much like, I'm trying to think, Ember's World on Fire, her ultimate ability that just casts those fire waves around her and does an aura of damage. It's like that combined with, I can't even think of an ability that's like this. This ability is just really awesome. I love it. I think that this ability here, Maim, will bring Equinox into the high-level missions and allow her to be played and included on a lot of teams. Now, strength mods and range mods do affect this, but I personally don't slap on any range mods, although it could be useful. I personally would rather just run around and get closer to the enemies because of that like 2-second stun that happens to enemies when you first hit them with that aura. So anyways, we're going to move into a mod build. My personal mod build, it's not the end-all be-all of mod builds. If you guys actually have any suggestions to improve this build or an alternative build for Equinox, let me know in a comment down below. Well, basically, I slap on Redirection, Steel Fiber, and Vitality. These are just the ranks I have them at. If you form your Equinox, you'll be able to have them at higher ranks. And you'll also be able to, you know, just max out all your other mods. And then I slap on Intensify, which will add 30% power strength, making Maim do more damage. Blind Rage, which adds 81% more power strength, making it do more damage. However, making it 45% less efficient. Then I add on Streamline to counter that efficiency problem by adding 30% power efficiency. Flow to give myself a higher maximum power pool so that I can have more power while casting this ability, because it does deactivate Energy Siphon, which I also suggest to have on Equinox. And then the last mod I add on is Fleeting Expertise to give an extra 60% power efficiency. It does take away 60% power duration, but that really doesn't matter that much when you're building around the Maim ability, because it is an infinite duration and cannot be reduced or increased. So you get a 90% power efficiency boost, and that pretty much completely counters Blind Rage's power efficiency reduction, making this just an awesome build in my opinion. Of course, I know that there are more clever people out there than I that come up with insane builds for these Warframes that make them a ton more powerful than I could ever want them to be. So if you're one of those people, make sure to leave a comment down below letting me know your build, and also let me know your opinions on Equinox. I think that she is a pretty nice Warframe. Her stats aren't like anything crazy to talk about. I mean, she has 100 armor, 100 base shields, 150 base power, 225 power at rank 30, and then 300 shields at rank 30, and then 300 health at rank 30. Pretty solid abilities. And then she comes with 2 polarities, a V polarity and then one of those, I can't even remember what they're called, but they're like little triangles. But yeah, I don't know, I really like Equinox. I didn't think I would like her that much, especially because it takes about a week to build her if you don't pay any platinum, which was just a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna lie about that. But please, let me know what you guys think about Equinox. I have one complaint about Equinox that I just really hate, and this might just be me being stingy, But I think that when she is in either her day form or her night form, it just doesn't look that good, in my opinion. The frame is not good looking, especially with the one horn or, you know, thing that she has on her head. It's just really weird and confusing and just looks weird to me. I don't know. I'm just ranting at this point. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you enjoyed, please leave a like rating down below and subscribe to see some more videos in the future, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.